Hey everyone, so as you may be familiar, it's like all crazy up in here, but I just got back from the hardware store, and what I did is I finally got some paint. This is a long deferred project that I've been putting off for years now, and I basically am going to get rid of this milk tea color. I mean, it doesn't show up as well how egregious it actually is on this camera right now. I don't know how well you can see that color, but here's like a whiteboard and here's this color. Okay, they put it on the ceiling and everything. And so last night I was at about midnight or so, after some other stuff, I was just putting on my first coat of this stuff, which is actually in interior exterior sealer stuff, and I decided not to use that to prime my ceiling. So I went out and got some other stuff, but this is just my dishwasher nook that is probably going to end up having a butcher block on top of it eventually. And I didn't do the floor and the oven nook, but this is just a first coat, so it looks kind of all grody, but the whole point of this was just to help add some extra protection against spills and things like that, but also because eventually these cabinet fronts are going to be white, except it's going to be more like a wood stain white. And I also just wanted dirt to show up very well, like in this nook, for example, for when I actually pull the appliance out to clean behind the area every once in a while. So today my designer white that I got, I decided not to do my designer stylus white on the ceiling because I had actually bought that for trim and things like that, and so I think it's like a semi-gloss, and I want to do just a flat paint on the ceiling, so I went with this. There's the Josephine checking things out. I went with this Clark and Kensington, and you know, it says it is scrubbable and whatnot. Now the flatter the finish, it is a little harder to wash than some of the glossier finishes, but he ended up having to mix it as a custom color because they didn't have quite the right base for what it was calling for on this. But it's a designer white, and if you compare it to the actual white of the label, it's just a slight difference, slightly less harsh than like a stark white. And then I decided to go with the satin instead of the eggshell for the walls because I just wanted to make sure they're very cleanable, although I do prefer the eggshell look a little bit. I don't have a what is it called, a range fan, or a hood for the range that will help like suck up oils and stuff when you're cooking. So occasionally there is some buildup or something that I might want to just clean the walls every once in a while. So I went with the satin on this, and that's from this color card, even though it's a Clark and Kensington paint that I went with. It's a Benjamin Moore color, and it's called Beach Glass. And while I was there waiting for the gentleman to help somebody else, and I actually got these at the local Ace, which I don't know what other people's experiences are with their local Ace hardwares, but I love shopping at my local Ace. I feel like, sometimes you pay a little bit more, but the customer service that I get there is amazing. So I really like going there. So I just pulled some other swatches for some other potential future projects of colors that I really liked. Now obviously some of these dark things would be for just very small little sections. But I did think about eventually getting some of a lighter tone for some of the rooms upstairs and things like that. Sorry, this video is already meandering a little bit, but I just wanted to show you what I got going on in here. Now, this little nook up in here in the stairwell, and it's the lower part of the stairwell. I wonder if I can focus. I don't know if you can see the color super well. It looks a little bit earthier on screen here than it actually is. It is slightly more of a dark seafoam green than I wanted it to be. I really messed up when I decided to paint it this color, and I had some extra from another project. I feel like I have to redo all of it. I'm not really satisfied, so I did get some more swatches today. And the reason why I'm not showing you guys this with the light on in here is because generally when I'm looking at this area, the light above is not on. So I picked up some more swatches to do just this small area in, and eventually these stairs, this is like a deck red kind of paint that they have on these stairs. It's hard to, there you can see the color a little bit better. But I picked up these swatches, and you know, I like them all. I feel like I'm actually maybe more of a fan of this middle one. But this one here, and this is a Clark and Kensington swatch, is called Carriage Hill. And it is just that earthy kind of sprucey green that I really liked. And part of the reason why I think I'm gonna get just a small can of that to paint this area in. Now, you guys wouldn't be able to tell from this, but this area, I actually did a lot of work before I painted it, which is part of why I painted it, because there were big gaps, like big old gaps and like holes that needed filled, and like all sorts of problems on this wall, because it's all very unfinished. But just like this area here is kind of like missing. I actually filled a bunch of holes up here. And so this area had a really ugly color on it originally. And then it had all these different splotches from where I had worked on the wall. As part of why I just stuck this color up on here to make it a little bit not as much of an eyesore. But I used to go to a place called Carriage Hill when I was little that my parents would take me to, and they had like an old school candy shop and horses and all this stuff, and like you could learn how to, we would go on field trips there and learn how to like churn butter and make little dolls and things like that. And it's just such a fond memory for me that I think, see, I'm that kind of person that can be very nostalgic. So even though I slightly prefer this Fairfield Manor color, I'm actually going to probably get some of this Carriage Hill color in the future to do this area with. And it's just going to be this lower portion. It's going to be this darker color. And eventually these stairs are going to be a slightly lighter color. And, you know, sometimes it's useful for dirt not to show up. But once I actually get this place a little more finished, I don't mind the dirt showing up to just be like, hey, I need mopped. And I want to get a good paint that will handle not just the heavy vacuuming, but like the mopping and stuff like that. On here, these stairs are actually, like I've mentioned before, really narrow because I don't know if I posted that video, because this house is over 100 years old and they just kind of had a limited space. So I had some previous swatches that I picked up for this base. This is my thrift store artwork, and this toilet can only be bucket flush. It's because of the curved in shape. When they didn't winterize it, the tank of this toilet actually got completely busted. So I have the water turned off to it. Otherwise, it'll just pour water out everywhere. And these are just some stick-on tiles that they put on here. I've got that new toilet replacement that just hasn't gone in yet. So this whole area needs a lot of work. But these are some of the colors that I had gotten previously that I'm thinking about putting the space in. And this might end up being a little bit too close to the kitchen color, but I might even, if I have enough left over of the kitchen color, since I'm doing the different parts of the kitchens in different colors, I've only got a gallon of that beach glass color, but I might do a lighter color, we'll see. But this area back here, I'm thinking about doing in shiplap, this back wall, in a shiplap, like shiplap wood panels. So, I don't know. We'll see. I just wanted to kind of show off some swatches and just show my paint before I get rocking and rolling on this. And I am probably going to be really lazy because, you know, again, I do have some health problems, so I got to pick and choose my battles. And I am not going to be masking before I do my ceiling. I'm going to do the ceiling first. And then later on, when that's all ready to go, then I'll mask before I do my walls. And I'm expecting that I am probably going to have to do 2 coats anyways. One of my, and you can kind of see where things aren't even entirely smooth, so I don't know how well this paint will cover that up. you know, you can see where the tape is and stuff, but for now, I know I'm not going to have it in me to actually redo any of that anytime soon, so I just want to get it in a nice ceiling colored white. But a huge pet peeve I have is when you have color showing through a ceiling, when a ceiling's not properly painted with enough coats. So I know I am going to just really hate myself if I end up looking at the ceiling with this milk tea color bleeding through in little splotches. So I'm planning on doing 2 coats here, and we'll see how it goes. And what I might do, just because I really just want to adjust myself to it before I start painting the ceiling, probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to take down these swatches and just paint a little bit of my... Some violence occurred here when I was over here, and a mosquito landed on my swatch and it got swatted. But I think I'm going to go ahead and before I start on the ceiling, do a little splotch on there. Now, I was went a little bit rogue. I didn't get a sample size paint can to do on here initially. I'm just going to go for it, and we'll see. I'll check back in with you all later. So just a quick update here. I just got started not too long ago. I had to, wow, did I have a lot of cobwebs and live spiders up in the corners. I haven't decobwebbed all of it yet. But I have just one initial coat of this color on the wall. Okay, now here's the color, and here's kind of what it's looking like right now. As you can tell, this coffee color is, maybe you can't see it very well on this camera, but the coffee color is still actually bleeding through quite a bit. It is not 100% dry, but as you can see, it's looking, you know, not quite right. And I think it's because it's just this first coat. So I'm going to put another coat on. And then I also started to just do a little swab over here. And this is not dry yet. So I'm going to see how this looks in the dark with the lights on and the lights off, because as I mentioned, I was initially planning on, like, so this is the color that I really love this color. Okay. And this color is called Mount St. Anne, number 1565 from Benjamin Moore. But I was worried that it might be a little bit too dark for my kitchen, but since I decided to do these areas differently, I really do want a rich color in just this main inner part of the kitchen. I'm going to see if that nook will support a really dark color. But then in here, it ends up, even just in this coffee color, it ends up feeling kind of cave-like in here. And although there's just clutter and accumulation of stuff for projects and other stuff, so I still have to like sanitize like all the things. So I just have selective areas that I can like safely place items that I know are clean. So I'm kind of working around that right now. But if this area will support this color quite well, I'm going to do a second coat in this little sample area as well, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the store tomorrow and get this color for the walls. That is going to be in this area, because I really like this color. I think that I might be able to use this color in my little half bathroom downstairs as well when it's ready. If I have extra... Yikes. Excuse me. Again, I've been dusting and stuff, so it's a little bit rough. But I think I may end up needing to do 3 coats down in here to get this darker color really nice when it's ready. But I do think that it's the color I want to go with, because again, I'm going to have this gray countertop. If this works out right, pardon my old milk jug, I'm going to end up putting some plants in it. But again, the counter is going to be this coastal fog gray, and I'm not sure how close this color swatch on here actually is, because I feel like the website color versus this color are a little bit different. So we'll see how that goes. And then my counters are going to be that white stained color. But I just started here. I haven't got the roller up yet, but that's what's really going to make the difference on this designer white. Now, you know, it maybe looks a little bit crazy that I'm putting it on the walls as well right now, but part of it is because, I don't know if you can see up in here, But in that area, the tape, it's putting a lot of texture through on the walls that I don't want to show up when it's finished. So I'm just putting an extra coat of this other color too, so that when I do this, that tape area is going to have numerous coats on it, so that hopefully that texture doesn't start showing up. Because frankly, I just don't have the energy, because even like right here in this dark spot, that's some of the tape texture showing through. Realistically, I am not going to be redoing the drywall and the tape in here. I just want to get my colors right and I'll be comfortable. I don't need it to be perfect, but I'm going to go ahead and slap another sample coat onto these areas so that I can see what it looks like when it finally dries. This one is dry. I might wait until that other one is finished drying before I put on a second coat. But it looks much better on camera here than it does in person. It looks much more like a seafoamy gray. It looks like there's too much seafoam color in it compared to what is in my swatch here. You might be able to tell here that that is definitely green because it's also still got that coffee color bleeding through. Okay, so we'll see how it goes, but that's just a quick update. Before I forget to capture this part, I really wish I would have taken a video of all the spiders up around here before I started clearing them all off. But as I mentioned, my house has been severely moused in the 2 years while I've been gone. And even up here in this area, you can see that I have been moused even up here on the top of my cabinets. So now I don't really need to paint this part of the wall just yet. I'm gonna maybe do that part later. I'm gonna be kind of piecemealing this together because all of these containers are gonna be going in my new dishwasher, which isn't gonna be coming in for a little while, and they're gonna be getting cleaned that way. And I don't really want to set these mouse containers somewhere in the interim. I want to just be able to put them straight into my dishwasher for cleaning and sanitizing, and then sanitize this surface. And same thing with a lot of the things in my drawers down below. And in my cabinets, and look, that guy, I shoot him off and he's already like, okay, lady, I'm back home now. Now, one of them, when all his painting got stuck, he got just tiny little bit stuck in some stuff that wasn't quite dry, and he got himself in a predicament, and I had to rescue him. And it worked out all right for him, but this guy, he's like, no, this is my home, this is my comfy spot, and he's already back. So we'll see how the spider situation goes, but I just, here's like the mousage evidence, right? I just want to let you guys know that if you ever do what I did and like end up having to leave for a while your place, you might want to set up some kind of like mouse traps, for a large one that can capture a bunch of mice, and that they'll be tempted towards. And then also maybe put some stuff in, like store stuff in totes and things like that the mice can't get in. Now I can't hold on to my tablet and step down on that chair safely, so I'm gonna end this little section for now because I get a little bit discombobulated when I'm above the ground anyways. Well, as you can see, I've just applied a second coat to this section of my sample portion, and it's this wet area on the right. Okay, this is my first coat, and here is my color. So of course, as I'm waiting for this to dry, it's a little grimacy because that sheen on it and everything, I mean, it looks terrible. So we'll see how this goes. So here's how it's going right now before I take a break for some food. Now it's this color here that's supposed to be my paint color. And the second coat has dried. And I don't know if you guys can see it very well, but it's definitely too light, and it's an even more greenish color. Okay. And I'm starting to feel very disaffected, so this is just the second coat. I knew that this was probably going to take 3 coats, but wow, I'm not feeling very good about this. Now over here, I've put some white down so that I don't have as much of this coffee color bleeding through. And here I've started a third sample coat to see if that fixes this issue, okay? I mean, I don't know, even if I lay it down flat. Okay, so this area is dry. So even if I lay it down flat on the second coat, I don't know, I guess it blends in when I do that. But I feel like I don't know if you can tell, but this is pretty flat. It's a little bit off. And I'm feeling very disaffected, so we'll see how the third coat goes when it dries. Because I did not want it's like a little too seafoam right now the way that it's drying compared to this swatch that I got. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm not feeling great about it right now. And you know, I noticed that this was mixed on an ultra white tint base, which is what it called for in the mixing machine. And if you can see here, you know, this color here, it does seem to kind of match the swatch better. It doesn't, like, this doesn't look as green to me. So it's been a while since I've done art on my color theory with how this milk tea is going to be changing this. But I'm starting to wonder if I do need to put a separate primer down before I do this, even though I am going to be probably going with this darker coat here. Okay. So this is supposed to be a paint and primer in one. Okay. And I just, you know, after 2 coats, I feel like it's not right. Now over here I haven't, well, maybe I did do a partial second coat over here, but something about this milk tea is just making this stuff dry real kind of greenish, even with the multiple coats. This is where I'm at with the ceiling right now. Yeah, I know it looks super messy and it's not dry yet. Let's see if I can focus this. Doesn't focus super well, especially it's dark. But even when I was using quite a heavy coat with my 1/2 inch nap roller, I could tell that even with a heavy coat, I was going to be needing to do 2 coats on the ceiling. So I've got quite a bit in my paint pan right now, but I feel like, you know, this 1 gallon is not going to be enough. And since I did do a custom mix on that designer white over here, since I didn't quite have the right base, so they had to do a custom mix on the designer white. We'll see how it goes, because I'm worried if I get a second can I might have some issues where it doesn't quite match up. But anyways, y'all, I'm gonna cook something and just see how this third coat dries. So as I take an intermission here, I'm doing a little bit of a redux of the breakfast sandwich that I had earlier. Because again, my hamburger buns that I bought from the store just the other day and stuck in the fridge were already moldy. So I'm going to just take this opportunity to again sing the glories of fried cheese. It's going to take a while to get ready. Now I buttered these, I don't have a toaster, but I buttered these before I put them on. Let's see if I can rotate it, it's not quite even. Maybe like that. The good thing about cooking at home is you can do whatever you want. Not only have frozen spinach is really all I've got right now, and I don't feel like putting it on here, and I could walk outside. Oh no, it's okay. It'll be alright. I guess I'll make it a little less messy to eat now that my yolk is broken. I could have walked outside in this weather and harvested some dandelion greens and sauteed those on there, and it would have been pretty tasty, but I'm actually trying to stay out of this weather. I was out there earlier, but I'm kind of feeling a little bit worried about catching a cold and then ending up out of commission for a while. So, you know, we're just gonna do this, and then I'm gonna have my frozen spinach and then banana milk smoothie later. I should have started my cheese a little bit earlier, but what you'll see when you fry the cheese on the pan is it gets all melty, and then it starts getting like, turning into this like chewy, like crusty goodness. Okay, if you can see that. Just frying it on the pan. Now, one of my favorite breakfast sandwiches to make is just on an English muffin, an over easy egg with fresh spinach sauteed, and then sometimes just a little bit of tomato sauce on it, and then frying the cheese under the egg while the egg is cooking. And having that on an English muffin, and it's super tasty. But anyways, I gotta set this down so I can take care of this. Now, my fried cheese is a little uneven, and some of it was just melty and kind of fell off, and you know, this egg didn't work out exactly the way I would have liked it to. But at least I guess it'll be a little bit less messy of eating. And then we're gonna do just like that, and that's gonna be my dinner. Now, this is a pretty big cast iron, good for cooking for multiple people, or if you're like me and you need to toast your bread on your pan, it works out. So anyways, I'm gonna enjoy a meal. Hey y'all, so I've only done a little bit more on this ceiling since dinner, and I've really been sitting with this paint color. Now, my living room is a lighter shade of seafoam green, and the earthiness of the paint swatch isn't really coming through on this paint. I don't know if it might have been because it was mixed on the ultra white base and not a mid-tone, but the thing is that the paint swatch that I chose is different from the brand of paint I used, and so their machines do try to give mixing instructions for mixing and matching different brands, but I feel like the earthiness is just missing from this base. And you know, that was me trying to save a little bit of money on paint, and also, you know, this brand said on the can that it is scrubbable and washable, and that was primarily what I was looking for, whereas the other cans did not say that, and I did not want to have to get on the internet and then cross-reference all the paint cans because I don't have internet service on my cell phone. So what I've decided to do, because this color isn't actually really working for me as far as what I was looking for in either of these spaces, it's just, again, it's just missing that earthiness. It's just a little bit too on the cool side. So what I'm going to do tomorrow, instead of going and getting that darker shade in the same color family, because, you know, again, if I don't mix it in the same brand, I'm going to have these same issues potentially. I am going to go back and I'm going to get myself a quart of this color here, this Kendall charcoal, and I'm going to go ahead and get it in the Benjamin Moore brand quart so that the color is true. And I have some other unused paints, and some of them are also not quite the color that I wanted, the way that they came out. And I just feel like this, having a quart of this to be able to mix into my different paints just a little bit and in different quantities and some of the different paints, is going to be able to solve some of my problems. Because, like, for example, you can't see it really well here. Do I have a flashlight? I do. But I have a little bit of this paint here left, and it's a green. And again, it's a little bit, this is only one coat on this other seafoamy color. So it doesn't show up well. But, you know, again, this is kind of that Carriage Hill color, which is not really, you know, I kind of like this color. That is, it's a grayish green. And so I have a little bit of this left. And I'm also going to be able to mix the little bit that is left with this in with this Kendall charcoal color, and maybe add a little bit of white depending on how it goes. And then I also have a little bit of another can of paint that I will be able to mix with this, as well as some of what is in the can of this color with this other shade. And I'm going to be able to get myself the the bathroom color that I want. And even though that's not ready, I'm gonna have to get a container to store that paint in once I have it mixed. If I mix it now, I might wait to mix it because the drywall all needs finished in there. So, you know, we're just gonna do a little bit of a custom art project, and I'm just gonna have to take it slow because I'm just gonna do the whole gallon. And then I'm gonna start, when I paint, I'm gonna start with this kind of like main part, which isn't actually a whole lot of square footage because there's this big backsplash that's not getting painted. I'm gonna do that, see what I have left, then see whether or not I want to do this area here. And depending on how much I have left, since I wanted a lighter color for these storage nooks that are in this bump out, oops, sorry about that, that are, you know, in these bump outs, and then I also have my fridge kind of hanging out in one right now, and a slightly lighter color in here, I'm just going to be able to add a little bit of white to whatever I have left if I think I'm going to have enough left. Alternatively, depending on how far this gallon is going to stretch, depending on how many coats I have to do, because, you know, I thought I was going to have to do maybe many coats of this, but part of what it is it's not just the bleed through of that milk tea color, it's that the paint itself did not end up as warm as the swatch. It's a slightly less earthy color, and just a little bit less earthiness is actually making a really big difference. And I'm not satisfied. I'm not gonna do all this because I've already made the mistake of picking a paint that I wasn't quite satisfied with and then going ahead and finishing the room in it and then just really not liking it. So this time I really want to make sure I'm happy with it. And I think cutting just a little bit of this Kendall charcoal is going to make the world of difference. And then I'm going to be able to use what's left of this paint for some other things. So I think because especially there is no room in my house that I want to be this cooler shade, there's not really any room that, I mean, I don't know, like maybe if I mixed it with some white, I could do a bathroom in like a lighter shade of that and a very pale shade. I don't know, but I'm feeling like I want to just do my own color here because I feel like similarly, you know, the other thing that impacts the way that different paints look is like, you know, the temperature of your lights, all these different things. Similarly, you know, when I was younger, I would spend money on a haircut, and I would always end up having to go back and fix it myself after having spent money and even tipped somebody else to cut my hair. So when I was 17 years old, I was like, you know what? And that was quite a long time ago now, you know, decades. But I was like, you know, I need to just start cutting my own hair because I'm having to do it myself anyways, and like for a decent amount. And why am I paying all this money? So, you know, instead of just depending on these swatches to come out on my walls, looking to my eyeballs the way I want them to look, I am just going to take matters into my own hand and just mix a little bit of this in at a time and just do some samples until I'm like, okay, until I'm just happy with the color and it's the richness that I want and everything, and we'll see how it goes. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead, and I haven't really been editing my videos. I just have been like kind of stitching them together and posting them because I don't really have time to go through and edit my videos, and these are kind of like diary entries. So I'm just gonna leave this here tonight, even though I am gonna continue working on this ceiling in here. I will check back in with you all on that tomorrow. Thanks for watching.